What is up, toy fans? This is your old pal Doc Johnson here, and I'm proud to say this is my very first video. I've been inspired by all of these awesome videos that I've seen on YouTube, toy collectors, seeing other action figure enthusiasts like myself. Awesome. Love it, guys. Keep it up. Keep this hobby going because it's absolutely amazing. And shout out to some of my favorite videos that I've seen. They don't know who I am, but I've been watching them for a while. So, people like Pixel Dan and Justice Curry, Fears, and Mike Mercy, and many, many others that every time I get on YouTube, I'm just excited to see what people collect. And not only that, see how they display their action figures and things like that. This is a great hobby, and I thought it was time that I wanted to get in on the mix and start my very own video. And this is one of two collection rooms that I have, my action figure rooms. And this will be the first room, which is the upstairs one. And again, I'm a child of the 80s, so anything 70s, 80s, 90s, and early part of 2000s I'm in on. So that's what this first room focuses in on. And hope you like it. Support us, support us that are in this hobby, and just click a like or leave a comment. That would be awesome. I do the same for you guys, and I will continue. And if you want to send me links of your collection videos and see your collection rooms, I would love it. I love seeing what people collect, even if it's stuff that I didn't even get, like, say, Hot Wheels. I wasn't a Hot Wheels guy, but I love looking at those videos and seeing how people display it, hearing the cool stories about when you were kids, getting your first one, things like that. So make sure and click that and send me links, because I will definitely check it out, and I will click like, and I will subscribe myself, just like I'm doing for you guys. So here we go. First off, like most collections, pretty standard to have a Vintage Masters of the Universe collection here, and this is mine that I've been working on, and I love the art of the display. I built all of these shelves myself, and of course black is a great color, so painted them black. And I like having things on the backdrop, and I'll get into that in a minute. You'll see a theme in this room with backdrops, and these were amazing watercolor posters that were available, and they have a whole series of them. They were based on the old Masters of the Universe magazine that came out in the 80s. Phenomenal artwork, and they look fantastic as backdrops for your figures. And again, you'll see I've got I'm down to the last series of the vintage line here that I'll pick up, and I like going to different toy shows, whether it be Kane County in Chicago, or special shout out to my dear and closest, the Toy Man show in St. Louis. If you haven't ever been, it's every other month, and it's amazing. Love it. So check it out, Toy Man Toy Show in St. Louis. Great place to find figures, and you can see that is the about 85% of the vintage line. I've still got a ways to go, and I've got my, and I'm a completist. I'm a loose complete guy. I like having all the weapons. You see my all-time favorite is, of course, Trapjaw. He's up on this top row here. Just thought he was the coolest figure. They made him kind of a blithering idiot on the cartoon, but that was all right. When you were a kid, that was very, very cool. Plus, he had the cool belt, and you could put his extra arm attachments in the belt. There was just something very, very cool about that. So again, awesome line. And you can see I have just kind of scrolling around here. I'm very new at this camera work, guys, so please bear with me. But it looks like it's showing up pretty good. I've got them all, and again, always make space. If you're making a toy room and a collection, always make space for growth, because let's face it, we never stop. There is no stopping this hobby. Even if we complete a full line, guess what? We're going to start a new one. So always make sure you have some room. And I got some room down there on the bottom, and one final shelf, and that will complete the rest of the vintage line. And then when I get done with that one, I'll move on to the She-Ra line. I'll have a couple of the She-Ra figures, but I will move on and go that, because she is part of it. And as I turn the corner here, you'll see this is the Superman Man of Steel line, which is a very underrated set of figures that came out in 1995, I believe, 95 to 96, and possibly into 97 with some of the later ones. But this was a cool line. It kind of got overshadowed with the Batman lines that were going on. That was toward the middle of the run of Batman the Animated Series figures, which I'll get into in a minute. That's my all-time favorites. And then the Batman movies. It was right after Batman Forever came out, and Legends of Batman, so it kind of got buried. But this is an awesome set of figures. Came with the little collection cards that we love, but again, I have the whole series. And probably the tough ones out of that are the 2-packs, because that Metallo Superboy 2-pack actually was supposed to be part of that Superman Man of Steel line, but it ended up coming in the DC Universe, or DC Superheroes line, rather, that came out a little bit later. But you'll see it on the back of some cards as being part of this line. Same thing with the, up in the corner, you'll see the King Shark and Superboy. That was also a 2-pack that was originally slated for this Superman Man of Steel line, but it ended up coming in the DC Superheroes 2-pack. So I put it with this because originally that was the line it was supposed to come with. And again, I like the artwork and the display, and I like the cards that these things came on were really, really awesome. So I made sure and highlighted some of that. I'd cut the cards off the backs, and those became my backdrops. And then I added a few little flares, like those little puzzle pieces, foam puzzle pieces, some fat heads. This is just kind of a whole Superman corner. And you'll see some fat heads. And also a thing about displaying what I like, and I've seen some of you guys do it, again, to each his own, but I like when people kind of layer their shelves, because on not only can you double the amount of space, but it also just looks better instead of kind of lining up figures one back behind the other, so it just looks like a big line of them that are lining up for something. But if you up it, like you'll see, this is actually one shelf, but I put some of these blocks in the back, covered them in yellow, which is a nice Superman color, and then you can put figures on the top of it. It gives it a 3D display, and it just displays really, really well that way. And I do more of that as we go around the room here. Down below that, again, keeping with the Superman theme here, is the Superman animated series that came out at the same time. Well, probably, I take that back. I think 2 years after the Batman, the animated series came out on TV. Great little cartoon run. Wasn't quite as popular as Batman, the animated series, but it held its own. Had a nice plethora of figures here. I'm working on it. I think I'm down to the last 5 figures out of that line that I don't have. But I will be getting to those very, very shortly, because you say I like to complete things. You can see in the background, I've got it covered in red paper. And then also, again, I did that layering 3D look that I was talking about, where the front guys are on the edge of the shelf, and then I build up the shelf a little bit in the back and put the second row, even though that's one shelf unit. And then again, paint everything in black so it kind of fits right in. And I think they look really nice displayed that way, all with, you know, kind of Superman things behind it. And again, here's more of the Superman animated series line here. And again, I like the cover art that came on the card, so I always make sure and include those in the backdrops, because the artwork is amazing on these boxes. The cards are amazing. Probably the tough ones out of this one to find is that guy right there, the Darkseid, the Omega Blast Darkseid is his name. You'll notice, those of you that also collect figures, there's always 1 or 2 harder ones to find in the line. Either they're short print, or they're only available in some regions, or something like that. But that kind of makes the hobby fun, is to try to find out which one is the hard one to find. But in the Superman animated series line, it was definitely that guy, the Omega Blast Darkseid. Coming down here, I love the Metallo, really cool, comes with that bike. There's the Bizarro, 2 different versions of Bizarro. You've got one here with that accessory, like an old tire that he can launch. And then where's that other guy at? He's in here somewhere. There's the other Bizarro. He came with a different color one. So again, slight difference. Not much into alternate versions, but when they're different enough like that, then I go ahead and pick it up, because it just kind of adds to it. And Bizarro's a great character. So that is the Superman, the animated series line. And again, I'm about 90% done with that collection. And again, left last 2 shelves are under construction, because I still have some to go here. And you'll notice shelves empty. That will be covered. That backdrop will be covered with the packaging that the figures came in. And you can see that I've already built my second lever shelf underneath here. That way I can fit 2 rows of figures on one shelf. So again, that is, so this whole wall unit is Superman Man of Steel and Superman the animated series. All right, now we're turning the corner, going back in time a little bit to good old 1982 Dungeons and Dragons line, kind of a forgotten line, but it's one that I always loved because I liked Dungeons and Dragons as a kid. And one of my favorite pieces was this guy right here, the Fortress of Fangs playset. And yes, I have the throne room guy, which seems hard to find. I also have the jail, which is over there in the back. And then I also have the weapons rack, which was hard to find. And then the pieces that everybody always missed were right in here, those little extra green pieces. They were like little stepping stones. It came with 3 of them, I believe. I have all 3. And I have a treasure chest in the back, and then I ended up with an extra attachment somehow. And then I also have the dragon, the horse. Yeah, I'm missing the bridle piece, but I'm hoping to find that at one of the toy conventions. You know, look at that bad boy. I wanted him front and center because it's just an amazing piece. The dragon is not part of that line, but I picked that up at a flea market and he just looked really cool. Kind of to scale with that line, so he's fitting up there, but he does not go with that line. Here is the actual figures that I have from that Dungeons and Dragons line. Again, I like to backdrop it with the theme, and that's just simply off of the Google image. I picked out some really cool Dungeons and Dragons images, color printer, printed them off. Simple yellow background that really makes the figures pop. And that is most of the first series. I'm missing Mercion and Young Male Titan out of the first series that came out. These are the posable ones. And again, they did the non-articulated ones as well. Here's a second one. Again, nice backdrop with some battle scenes. Again, just off Google Images. Color printer. I think it comes out nice. Hook Horror there. North Lord. And here are some a few of the non-posable ones on this corner. So I hope to complete that line sometime with, of course, the golden gem being the Tiamat. She's probably the hardest to find in the series and the most highest value, but someday she'll be mine. So again, I will love to add the rest of those to my collection. Underneath here is kind of a brand new one. Lord of the Rings. Don't have much, so again, I'm just kind of building the display, but I can show you what I have done here. Again, the artwork from the cards were amazing. You'll notice they came in that really cool, it was actually 2 cards stuck together into one, and that's what the packaging came for each of the figures. I only have a few, so I've just now built the display a couple of days ago, but I think it turned out really neat the way the figures will look with that nice ring packaging in the background. And again, always make room for expansion, and there's my expansion there. And that is the Dungeons and Dragons line. Up above here, I have some more of my Masters of the Universe. I need to paint that shelf up along the top there. And then I think I forgot to film up above my He-Man action figures. I have the line going of all the vehicles at that time. And then if you'll pan over here, I have the big mother load of it all. I have the full Eternia, and this is complete. I have all the pieces. I don't have the railing attached to this because I'm afraid someone will come in and turn the ceiling fan on in this room and shatter that thing in a million pieces, because those things are really easy to break. But I do have the full track. I just don't have it set up. But it fits perfectly in this little nook of the room. Again, you can take a lot of neat spaces and create more space for yourself. It'd be amazing what you can do if you just give yourself a little bit of time to plan out on your floor what you're going to do in your toy room, like I did this one. Not a particular huge room, but it will look like it the way it's being filmed. But anyway, I will keep going around. Here's the rest of my Master of the Universe. Had some of the best play sets ever. Snake Mountain, Fright Zone. You got the slime pit, got the slime vat. I had to pick up that slime vat later. I didn't have it, and it was actually really hard to find. And I have up here Dragon Walker Battle Ram. I have the nice metal lunchbox. Some of the McDonald's pieces that came out a few years ago. Cup from, I believe, Burger King. Got Spydor. I got the He-Man toothbrush back there. I don't have the toothbrush anymore, but I got a packaged weapons pack back there. Over here, one of the Granddaddy play sets. Everybody loved having Castle Grayskull. Point Dread and the Talon Fighter attached to it. It is absolutely complete with all the cardboard inserts and the stickers. Every single weapon on the weapons rack. Again, I like to be complete. And there is the rest of it. There's the Blaster Hawk, and again, I have all of the discs that it shoots. Cool puzzle that I got for 50 cents, guys. Again, you go to these flea markets, you can find awesome bargains. 50 cents. Look at that amazing artwork. Totally worth 50 cents. And there is the collector's case. I'm still looking for the yellow. They made a yellow Masters of the Universe collector's case that I would love to have. So that is on my list. And then down here, Battle Bones. And again, I got some room for expansion. Those comics I'm going through, the comics, so that's a whole new video in and of itself. I have a huge comic collection that will be in a separate video, but this whole space here will be filled with the rest of big play sets coming my way. So that will be another video. Moving on, what collection action figure person is there without having Star Wars in their line? And again, this is the Power of the Force 2 that came out in 1995 is when it all began again. They had kind of taken a hiatus from 77 to 86, was a vintage line. And then we didn't hear from them for about almost a decade. And then 1995, it all started over again with the Power of the Force 2 line, which was awesome because not only did it make more characters, but they're articulated figures, better weapons, and then they made all the figures that maybe we wanted to see in the original line and just didn't get to. And that is a little side shelf with some of the vehicles. I still have room for more. And again, here is a really nice example of that layered look. I'm going to back this up. This is the Star Wars Power of the Force 2 section. I have the shelves broken up into sections. This is all Power of the Force 2, and you again picked up that nice wooden sign online somewhere. It looks really good to kind of highlight things. And then behind there, you'll notice on the shelves themselves, I go 3 deep for each shelf, and then 2 for some of the larger ones underneath. And again, all with layering, using like little staircases that I built. And in between, you'll notice is where I plug in the tops of the packaging cards, because again, that's great artwork. So you can see them kind of poking through the figures there, but I love that. I love incorporating the packages because that is part of history. You see behind Luke there. I think it looks really neat that you can see the Star Wars emblem in between C-3PO and R2-D2 as well. I think that gives a really cool look. And that is, again, 99% of the Power of the Force 2 line I have. I think I'm missing just 2 left from the expanded series. And I'm missing a couple of the kind of the weird exclusives. Example would be like there was a Han Solo that came in like a CD-ROM game set where he's kind of in a cockpit of what looks like the Millennium Falcon. But I consider him one of the figures in the line. So it's weird stuff like that aren't hard to find. I just need to pick them up. And again, I incorporate everything that the cards came with. You can see those little box things back there that came with the figures, those flashback photos, and you could pull a little tab and it would give you a different picture of them. I just think that gives it a nice look. It's all about display. Displaying these things is like pieces of art, and I love that. That's why what got me interested in it, and that's why I love tuning in to you guys and seeing what you guys collect. And at the same time, seeing how you guys display your stuff. And again, I like to be able to see it so you can see how it kind of stair steps up. I just really like that look. And again, room for expansion. I'm getting down to be able to finish out the rest of them. I've got one more of the, actually 2 more of the Cinema Scene 3-packs. I need the Luke that came in that series back there, that electronic effects. I need the Rebel Pilots 3-pack. And just a few more odds and ends, and I'll have all of the Power of the Force 2 line. The bottom part is the little expanded universe that came with those little cool cutouts. I made sure and kept those because I thought they were really neat. And again, I have 2 more so you can see the space for those last 2 in that expanded series. So that is the Power of the Force 2. And again, that's one shelf. And then I'm going to move over. Excuse me, I'm a little bumpy. Get it down in here, and next to it on the top part, you'll notice that is the Episode 1 figures that came out. Again, we've rolled right from 1995 until about 99 was the Power of the Force 2. Now we're into 1999 to about 2001-ish, possibly 2-ish. That was the Episode 1. So up there, again, I like to theme everything out. So you notice I went from kind of the greenish backdrop over there, green and black, to now the red, because that was kind of primarily what was on the cards for the Episode 1 figures. And up along the top there, and you can see I did the same thing. I used the card backs to kind of fill in the background. I just think I like the way that looks in the backdrop. Up above here, I'm still missing a few Episode 1 figures, but again, they're not that hard to find. And you can find them for relatively cheap if you just look hard enough, go to toy stores or flea markets, or even online. And then dropping down here, we get into Episode 2. Episode 2 figures. And again, I'm maybe halfway on Episode 2. So again, I didn't start getting into it until I was mostly done with Power of the Force 2 and Episode 1. So Episode 2, you can see the empty shelf there. There's a little Rogue One section. Love that movie. The Rogue One was really good. And then we get into the blue, which is a primary color for the Episode 2 figures, which are also called just simply the Saga figures. They didn't really call them Episode 2 when you're looking them up online, but they are the Saga. So again, they're the card backs. Kind of helps theme them out. I use blue for my upper level. And then again, those upper levels, sometimes they're pieces of wood that I wrap in construction paper. Sometimes they're pieces of styrofoam that I either paint or wrap in construction paper, but it's a cheap, ineffective way. And not only that, but it's lightweight. You can move it around. It doesn't weigh your shelf down if you have shelves on there. And it just looks really nice. And it stays nice and flat. And I just love the way that looks. And again, very, very new to the Episode 3 figure, so you can see it's still a work in progress. It looks hideous right now, but you can see what I'm trying to do is card backs. You can see that Aayla Secura and Padme figures, putting their card backs up there. Here are the actual figures themselves. They're the only episode 3 ones I have. I don't have a lot of them because I'm trying to complete the episode 2 and 1 and Power of the Force before I get to it. But you can see eventually that'll all be that orange lava backdrop, which was a famous scene in episode 3, showing the lightsaber duel between Anakin and Kenobi. So that will cover up the rest of that green and yellow backs. So that will look much nicer. And then I loved the Darth Vader packaging, so I kept those. Those will be kind of nice floor panels for the figures when they go across. And again, everything else underneath here, empty shelving, but again, you can see I'm starting to build my layers again. There you go. Those are just pieces of wood that I painted. Down there, just wallpaper. Again, it almost looks like comic books come to life. When you put figures in front of them, it gives it a 3D effect. It just looks really cool. I like that. So that is kind of my Star Wars section from here. Let me back up the shelf all the way across, and then some of the figures are over here. And again, here are some of my vintage ones. And again, near and dear to my heart, I had a huge collection of vintage, which like most of us, moms and dads got rid of. So I'm just now turning around and picking them up as I go, the ones that are in really good condition. So that'll be a line that I'll go back on and collect. Of course, the Millennium Falcon, Vader's TIE Fighter, the Outrider, Y-Wing, Slave One, TIE Fighter. TIE Fighter is one of my favorite ships out of that line. So this whole shelf area here, there's a collector's case. Again, more empty space for more of these ships because there's quite a few of them in this line. Again, always make room to expand. All right. Moving down below Mr. Rancor and Luke Skywalker, we get into a really cool, really underrated set of figures. Dick Tracy. Love Dick Tracy. Came out in 1990. Was a huge movie. Warren Beatty, Madonna, Al Pacino. And what's cool about this is some of my favorite, I love the actual cars. It came with a black Big Boys mob car. And then Dick Tracy had a police car. I think these things look fantastic. They're very, very detailed. The figures aren't as detailed, but those two cars make up the line. They're absolutely fantastic. Again, I kind of stair-stepped it so you can see the guys in the back are a little sitting up higher than the guys in the front. The cars make nice little drops in the middle. Again, Google Prints to get the nice images from Dick Tracy. I think that looks really cool all together. And I'll back it up so you can see it. That's the Dick Tracy line. Again, I got more space for more stuff underneath. Of course, the only figure I need out of the Dick Tracy is the one that probably everybody needs, and that is the blank. That one's really, really hard to find. Goes for about $1,100 to $1,500 online, give or take. But it's one I've got my eye on, and I will definitely pick up when I get to it. I think it was only available at one time overseas. And they didn't want to release it because you could supposedly, and I don't know if this is true yet, you can take the mask off and it's Madonna's face underneath there. And that would have been a big spoiler alert. So they kind of shortchanged it, and then they pulled that figure from regular release because that would have given away a major plot point in the movie. So little fun fact for you. Every once in a while I've got some of those. Now we get into some of my favorite stuff of all time, which is Batman. Batman is near and dear to my heart, just like it is most people. And, excuse me here, one second. Again, this is the, and again, I had no interest in collecting anything brand new, and then until I saw the DC Collectibles Batman, the animated series line. This was such a phenomenal line. I fell in love with it, so I had to start picking them up. So I've got a pretty good collection of the first series. I think I'm only missing 2 from the very first series, and then I'll work on again, I go in numerical order. After I finish series 1, I'll get into series 2. But again, nice backdrop. You'll see that big sign in the back. That's actually the packaging that the big bat plane came in. The back plane's in actually my other room because I didn't have space, but that will be in my second video because, again, this is only collection room number 1. Number 2 will be coming soon, especially if you guys like this. But you can see I stair-step it across there. Favorite figure out of that line's right here. Love the ventriloquist, and I also love Zatanna. I love those 2 characters. They're some of my favorites in the DC universe. Amazing stuff. And I love the that Batman and Robin with the 2-pack that came with the projector lamp, the Batman, cool stuff. And again, this will be room for the next series right here, and you can see I use the backs of the cards that just make really awesome backdrops. I even added, for a little touch, this little cityscape, and you can see it's stair step. So on top of the city here we'll go, and then underneath here, so we got almost 2 shelves built into one. It's actually 1 shelf, but you can stack up 2 sets of figures. There's a nice cityscape in the back there that I kind of created on a computer and cut out. The rest of that will be painted black. Paint all of your inserts black if you have a chance, because black is a great display color. Really makes this figure stand out. Again, I wanted to pay homage to all of the artwork that comes in the packaging, so that's why you see there's the back of the light right there, the boxed set that came with that, and that will serve as a backdrop for the next group of figures. Again, there's more Batman the Animated Series, my all-time favorite figure line, my favorite cartoon. Amazing. Love Batman the Animated Series. Underneath the DC Collectibles, we have the Legends of the Dark Knight collection that came out in 1998. Only lasted 3 series. Again, I have the first 1.5 of them. I think I'm down to 2 left out of Series 2, and then I need the 4, I think, that came out of Series 3. Well, 5 if you count the 2 different colored Detective Knight Batman. It was a great set of figures. Kind of an Elseworlds look. They were taller, they were bigger. And again, I like the packaging in the background that I always make sure and incorporate, because that was part of the figures. You can see that. And then also back there, you'll see that Batman back there. All that is a table runner. Like you can go to any hobby store or Toys R Us and get to like the birthday section. And all it is a table runner. Like if you were doing a Batman themed birthday, I think it makes a great backdrop. Also, wrapping paper. I'll show you some examples where I use simple wrapping paper as backdrops for my shelving figures. Nice, cheap way, but it really looks awesome when you put them on the walls. Really makes your figure stand out. So that's all I have in the Dark Knight, Legends of the Dark Knight line. More figures coming soon. Drop down underneath here, and we have the Arkham. This is another newer series. Absolutely fell in love with the game, so I wanted to be able to get the Arkham Knight, Arkham Origin series. There's, I think, 6 lines in the entire run, 6 rows of figures. I only have, you can see 2 of them. This Man-Bat doesn't officially belong to the Arkham series, but I thought he was cool. I picked him up in a bin from the last toy show that I went to, so I put him right next to there. I think he came in what's called a DC Heritage line. And again, there's some of the card inserts that came with the figures. I think they look cool. Underneath there in the next row of shelves, you'll see this is the card backdrops that came with those figures. The cityscape with the foggy Gotham night scene in the back. I mean, that just looks fantastic. So that will be the second row of figures that I'll end up getting. Awesome stuff. Again, it's all about the display. And again, my all-time favorite, here we go. Haven't even scratched the surface of all my figures, guys. I got a lot of them, so bear with me. Hope you're enjoying the ride. Here's my all-time favorite right there, Batman the Animated Series, the original line, 1992. Went for actually longer than what they were probably anticipating, all the way through the early part of 2000s, especially when you start getting into the repaints, the repackaging, 2-packs, and then some that were exclusive just to Toys R Us, just exclusive to Walmart. Makes it very, very difficult to collectors like me that try to complete, but I'm all up for a challenge. So again, starting at the top, you'll see the nice backdrop, which is usually card backs from some of the figures. They make amazing artwork, and they just look great in the background, especially that Batman the Animated Series. Simple logo, black, white design. It just pops. Love it. You'll hear I've got 3 rows of figures there. That's all of the first, I think I have the first 9 series of figures. There's actually 12 in the whole line, and that includes all the Walmarts, the Toys R Us. So I've got 3 lines to go. So I'm right in the middle of what's called the Spectrum of the Bat series that came out. I have the first 8 all the way up through completing the Duo Force, and then now I'm working on the Spectrum of the Bat. After Spectrum of the Bat was the Mission Masters 1 through 4, which kind of completes the line. And a lot of those are repaints and all that, but I'm a completist. I'll be getting them all. And again, you'll notice in the backdrop, card backs. And Batman the Animated Series had the best card artwork of all time, so I was definitely wanted to pay homage to those and put them in the back because they just look cool. They make the figures look like they're popping right out of the page of a cartoon or comic book. And again, nice layering. I used 2x4s or styrofoam in the back. And again, as I go down, there's less figures because you start getting into the ones with big bulky accessories and they need more room. So we're getting down into the kind of the Duo Force, and you can see the nice emblems in the background. That backdrop, if you'll notice, again, one of those party packs for a child's birthday party. They had those little gift bags, like $2. But it was Batman the Animated Series, phenomenal. It just looks great as a backdrop. So simple things like that you can do. There's another one right there. How cool is that? Just looks cool on the back of a shelf. And again, here's my room to expand. Those bottom 2 shelves here, and then these two here, I'll be able to finish out the Batman the Animated Series line, which is Mission Masters. So that will be coming soon. I will get that done. And then over here is just my more Batman the Animated Series stuff. Again, nice little card back wall. The Rogues Gallery box, which was amazing. I have the Rogues Gallery in the shelf that I just showed you. The collector's case, Wayne Manor, Batcave playset, awesome stuff. These are just some extras that I'll end up probably customizing at one time because I'm really liking the way some of you guys customize figures. So I'll be looking for hints and tips on that. Here's some more figures. And then the rest of this will be set aside for vehicles and playsets in the various Batman lines. Again, always make sure you give yourself room to expand. This room looks huge, doesn't it? It really isn't, but again, it's just the way you layer your shelving and the way you build up. All right, so after Batman the Animated Series, let's turn the corner here, and what do we have here? Kind of, I call it the sequel to Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond. A really awesome cartoon came out, talking now, this is 1999 till about 2001. Again, on the top here, a couple of Batmobiles, one from the Batman and Robin movie, one from Batman the Animated Series. And again, up behind there, that is just Batman wrapping paper. Again, you can get it at any birthday themed store. I think it looks cool in the background, so you just slap that up on the wall, and look at that. Easy design. Here's Batman Beyond. You can see, again, the card backs in the back. 2x4s kind of layer that shelf so I can get two rows of figures on one shelf. I am down to the last 6 out of this series, and again, they're all the last series, which was the Circuitry Storms and the Energy Surge and the Computer Tech ones, the Virtual Joker. Those are still easy to find, so you can see those empty spots I've already got set aside and reserved, especially for those. I'll be able to complete that line pretty quickly. They're not too difficult to find. At one time, Mr. Blight here was a difficult figure to find, but I still need the little accessory that he came with. He had a little accessory, but I'm sure I'll run into that one of these times. But so that is Batman Beyond. Now we move down to probably, again, an underrated line of figures, The Legends of Batman. This came out in 1994, lasted till 1996. Not only did it incorporate a 4 series of its own, but also the Warner Brothers, which was a store at that time. I think it's now gone defunct. Also had 3 series of actual repaints, but they were really, really cool. I have almost a complete set of everything Legends and the Warner Brothers exclusive, except for the series 3 of the Warner Brothers repaints. And those are the ones that came with, I think, looked like a brick wall on their card back, and also like Catwoman, I think, was on the card back. But still looking for those. I'm sure I'll find them eventually. The series 1 of the Warner Brothers exclusive was the hardest of the series to find, and I already have that complete set. Excuse me. So I'm sure the rest will be coming soon. But that is Legends of Batman, complete set of the regular series 1 through 4, and then also series 1 and 2 of the Warner Brothers exclusive repaints that were exclusive just to the Warner Brothers store. Luckily, at that time, I lived in California, was able to pick those up pretty easily. Moved away before I got to the 3rd series, so that's why I will have to get those. And again, they are cool because they came with these awesome trading cards. And again, I incorporated those in the display set. The cool Batman on the horse, I thought that was a neat touch. And again, in the back, you'll see the card backs. And then underneath here, a couple more shelves to finish out the rest of that line. Great set of figures. Coming over here, who doesn't remember summer 1989 Batmania? That bat symbol was everywhere. That was the summer of Batman. And anybody who was my age at that time, again, I was 15 when that movie came out. That summer was crazy. So I'm sure all of you would love to hear the stories of where were you in the summer of 1990 when Batman came out, and it was just crazy. The Prince songs and this emblem, the merchandising, it was just an all-out assault on our senses, and we loved it. We loved the Jack Nicholson Joker. We love Michael Keaton as Batman. We think he's still our favorite Batman. It was just what a cool time. And the Kenner figures that came out in 1989 lasted till 1991 was this series. Again, they were a little short on villains, so you only had a couple of Jokers, but I do have the full series. And again, I incorporate the cards and the boxes from the box sets. And that was the guy to get right there. That's a Knockout Joker, which is complete. He's the hardest one in that series. He goes for well over $100 online. For some reason, he was short print, I guess, but there wasn't a lot of him. But that is the full series of Dark Knight, as it was called. And then we drop down, Batman Returns. Right after that, I had to put that right underneath there. Complete set of Batman Returns figures came out from 1992, lasted till about 1993. Not too many short prints in this line, so it was pretty easy to put together. The line's unique for having a couple of different things. One, for having unique KB exclusive figures, like that guy right there in the middle. He was exclusive to KB, the Polar Flight Batman, I think he's called. A couple of the movie cups I had room for, so I put them on there. And then also this line had an actual Robin in it, because that Robin at one time they were planning on putting him in the movie, and then for some reason they